writings of a great, someone who teaches leadership conferences throughout the world. And he was born in Russia and studied in Paris. He's a member of Opus Dei. His name is Alexander Havard, and he writes about leadership and virtuous leadership, and to kind of draw upon some of his insights, which basically are the same insights of Aristotle and St. Thomas Aquinas, and virtues that we should acquire as legionary members and also just as Christians. That is magnanimity, greatness of soul, humility, the four cardinal virtues, the three theological virtues, but to really focus on this notion of great-heartedness, of doing great things for the Lord. And we look at the life of Frank Duff and Adele Quinn and other great leaders of the Legion. We see that they give everything to the Lord. The other one just went to South America, the young Alphonse.
Alphonsus Lamb.
Yes. Yes, that's right. And his ability to learn many languages and to go and to evangelize. And we see that how they just gave themselves totally to the apostolate and produced many great fruits. When we look at leadership, we could look at sort of 7 keys to authentic leadership. And again, leadership isn't a position that we have. We don't need to have an office to be a leader. We lead by our example, and we have that influence on others. And so we're always looking at having this influence of growing in virtue. A virtue, a simple definition, is a good habit. That is, doing the same thing over and over again, but those things that are good for us. A vice is a bad habit. So if I want to, and so habits then are those things that we can train ourselves in. We're not necessarily born with it. And a point of leadership is that we often say, oh, so-and-so is a born leader. But again, if we really look at leadership and how people have lived their lives, in fact, leaders are ones who are trained in leadership. We're born with our temperaments. Temperaments are those things like in the Middle Ages we would say these 4 temperaments: choleric, sanguine, phlegmatic, and another one that I'm forgetting right now.
What are you saying?
And melancholic. And those things are like, we see that in children. Some children are sort of naturally happy, some tend to cry more and things like that. And as parents, we can kind of cultivate the virtues within our children so that all of those temperaments are sort of like not one dominates the others, but they're kind of in equal proportion to each other. And so it might be that some people, if you're a choleric temperament, you just have this sort of like a little impulse to be a bit more angry than others at times. If you're a melancholic temperament, you have a tendency to be a bit more sorrowful. So when you're up against a sort of a conflict that's there, an opposition in the apostolate, the choleric is a bit more aggressive. He's going to tackle it. He's going to go after it. But the melancholic might be kind of like lamenting it, like, oh, this is too much for me to do or something. And so we have those sort of tendencies within ourselves to do that. What virtue does is it sort of draws upon these temperaments and kind of helps us to conquer them. Things that all temperaments have good things and bad things about them. And it's kind of like the deck that we're shuffled with that when we're born, that God kind of gives us certain things. And those are, we have to overcome those tendencies, and that helps us to grow in holiness. A virtue is then a habit that we practice regularly. So, for instance, let's just say that I'm a typical teenager